So punch press is the first press in their process. It's a 25-ton press, and its job is just to start by punching holes in the blocks. We can't start forming the axe until we have an eye formed. So it's the first step in the process. So it's 25 ton. It cuts about 80% of the way through the block. Then we have to reheat the block, flip it over again, and punch it again. And then that gives us our initial eye, which then we can start drifting out subsequently with our different size drifts. This press was made for us by a company in Indiana called Coal Iron Works. Coal Iron has supplied all of our hydraulic presses that we use in the shop. We have some power hammers as well, but all the hydraulic works have come from Coal Iron. They've been a great partner. We do a lot of R&D with them. They've made a bunch of experimental pieces for us. They manage making all of the dies that are in our machines. So they've been a great help. All right, so that's the 25 ton. So once we've punched the hole in our press, then we get to forming the axe. And that in this space, in this process is done with the 120 ton press. So the 120 ton press is just a giant beast that just crushes steel. And so it's able to move a lot of steel very quickly. It has a series of different dies inside that we use for different formations, different shapes, different drawing out processes that we're doing, as well as drift driving assemblies. And it has this gigantic 120-ton cylinder. What's unique about this press is that instead of the upper section having the hydraulic ram in it and pushing down on stuff, this entire work table lifts up. So it's a little funky to work with to get used to. But because this cylinder is so gigantic, it would be near to impossible to spin that overhead and have that be the working arm. So instead, it's a little simpler for it to be on the bottom. And so that press, and then over here we have a spare 25-ton press from Coal Iron, and this is called a C press because it's captured on one side, as opposed to these guys which are captured in multiple positions. And so this is able to move a good bit of steel around, but not nearly as much as the 120 ton. So we'll do this for a little bit of fine work here and there, a little bit of straightening. It's sort of a spare press for us at the moment, but it's handy to have. So again, it's a Coal Iron press. All these dies that are in here can be swapped out. We can change those forms around. These guys are all made out of H13, which is a tool steel. So it's a very hard steel that doesn't deform as easily as the steel that we're working with. So so it holds up to a lot of abuse. But yeah, so that's a sort of a Swiss Army knife of a tool that we can swap out those parts. So those are our presses over here. And then of course we have the induction forge, which is the way that we heat our pieces of steel. This guy is 3-phase 480, just a gigantic piece of electricity. The system is water cooled. So these are copper lines here that are coated, and there's water circulating in this system all the time. It's about 75 to 90 degrees. That keeps the system cool, keeps the coils cool in the refractory. And so the only thing that's hot is just the piece of work itself. This generates an electromagnetic field around the work, and it agitates the molecules in the steel, which then leads to heat. So this piece of equipment can heat our basic billet from about a 3.5 pound piece of steel. It can heat this billet to 1900 degrees in about 160, 170 seconds. So it's a great improvement to our propane forge. So it's very quick, it's quiet, and doesn't spill a lot of ambient heat or ambient fuel. So it's a great upgrade for us. And this is just about a year old right now. So that is the big pieces of equipment over here. We still do use these guys a lot, our anvils. We have a couple of really big anvils in the shop, and these guys are super beautiful. This is a 265-pound anvil, which is great for the big work that we're working on. You know, a few pounds of steel. If you're working on smaller work, we do have some smaller anvils around. This guy's a nice old Peter Wright anvil here with all the axes on top of it. And that's like a 115-pound anvil. And that's for smaller piecework. Despite all the big heavy equipment, we still use the anvils quite a bit.